Welcome back to the Words from the Nerds podcast. We have a very, very fun episode today. Spoiler free Flash discussion. Me and Charlie have not seen the episode, just to be fair, but the famous girlfriend's brother in law that I always seem to bring up on the podcast is finally here. Brandon Woodworth, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you thought about the Flash? Spoiler free. We're going to have some questions for you, and we'll have a little discussion about it.
So, top-down, spoiler-free reaction would be, yes, it's great. It's an easy 9 out of 10 for me. It's not the best DC movie since The Dark Knight, like everybody else has said, but it is the best DCEU movie. Not by a mile. I think it's really close with The Suicide Squad, at least in my eyes, but I think it's a great movie. I think there's a lot to love about this movie, a lot of heart. It's surprisingly a Flash movie, first and foremost, where it does a good job of surprisingly being an origin story while also setting up the bigger DC EU as we're moving forward. I think there's a lot of great humor. I think a lot of people are going to see this as their No Way Home with Michael Keaton. The woman next to me cried when he came on screen. And so I think there's a lot of Keaton does a really good job. I think everybody does a fantastic job, except for a few, and we'll kind of talk about that later. But it's overall a great movie. Like I said, I don't think it's like the second coming of Christ, like a lot of people put this movie as, but it deserves the hype. I'm impressed by DC, and for the first time, I'm excited for the future of DC.
And we'll kind of use this as a little sit down with Charlie, a little intervention, because in past episodes, Charlie's kind of he's kept his guard up. I'll say that he's kept his guard up a little bit. So, as always, my wonderful co-host Charlie, want to introduce yourself and then tell us your thoughts on like the Flash, because I know when like the trailer came out and everything, and then I think it came out close to Guardians or something like that. We had some discussions about if it was as good as the Guardians trailer, and now that Guardians is out, Flash is on the horizon. We can kind of get a feel for comic book movies this year. So lay it on us, Charlie.
Welcome back, everybody, or if you're listening for the first time because we're talking about the Flash, welcome in. My name is Cubson, and my journey with this movie has been I would say like most people probably. I've had my doubts going into it in the build up to it, and even now with all of the praise that has been getting these past 2 months, or however long it's been, I've always been so much of the idea that DC fans, and I don't know if it's just because a lot of what they get is not good, and I love DC too. I'm a DC fan as well. But I think I said this to you guys in the group chat, you and Ben, that DC fans have a tendency to take a small win and make it seem like it is this gigantic, earth-shattering, we just changed the world type win. Yeah. And they did it a little bit with Super Pets. And granted, that might just be the circle that I'm in with comic talk and all that crap. But they did it with DC Super Pets. They did it with Black Adam. Black Adam, which is laughable to me. Yeah. But, and so when I heard all this stuff about the Flash, initially, obviously the first reactions that came out months and months ago weren't from like hardcore DC fans. Those were just like, I believe, random people that were just sent to a screener or whatever, or what have you. I don't know if they were like reviewers or whatnot, but I wouldn't bunch them in with those DC fans, those group of DC fans. These most recent ones, like I guess Tom Cruise isn't very recent, but Tom Cruise said that the movie was fantastic. What's his name? Stephen King. Stephen King recently on Twitter said it was fantastic.
Well, today Terry Crews and his family said it was fantastic as well too. So just another endorsement.
Oh my god, I did not see that. Yeah, okay, and then the train just keeps going, and so obviously, I think it's undeniable that there's something here. There's something great to be had here, especially with what Brandon just said. But I'm still very much like I think you put it well when you said guarded, because I think that is kind of the way that I'm entering this, not because of everything that's happened with Ezra Miller, although that, I mean, sure, that has to you at least be floating around in your head to some degree. But you know, I feel there's tons of things that for me personally, like, and I guess Brandon might be able to speak to this a little bit without spoilers, I guess. But the stuff that people gave No Way Home flack for on the nostalgia side of things, or just Marvel in general, they'll say that they just pander to these fans and this fan service kind of mindset. And I look at something like Michael Keaton in the trailers for this movie saying, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." I feel like that is like the embodiment of everything that everybody's saying, and we just brush over that. Now, granted, there are some people that are calling it out and stuff like that on Twitter, but I'd say for the large majority, it's kind of just something like, "Oh, he's Michael Keaton," you know?
Yeah.
And so I don't know how much of that is in there. As Brandon just said, there was a woman crying that Michael Keaton was there and crying tears of joy. And so, you know, I hope that's not too much of the case. I will say I love a lot of the trailers, especially the TV spots I'm seeing lately, of the focus with Barry and his mom, because for the Flash TV show, that I loved that stuff. Anytime Barry, spoilers for the Flash TV show, ran back in time to try to save his mom or stopped himself from saving his mom and then leaned over her as she was dying. Great stuff. I love that. And I hope we get a great focus on that in this movie. And so, and less so much of Batman and even Supergirl, even though I am excited to see Supergirl as well. I want to see what Sasha Cal can do. But yeah, I feel like I'm rambling. So but that's what I think.
I'll hit on some of your points. I'll answer some questions, kind of give you some. So we'll start with Ezra Miller. I feel like I should get the elephant in the room out of the way. At some points, maybe it is subconsciously because I know everything. There are jokes in this movie that I'm like, whew, I don't know if I would have kept that in. It's just little things here and there that I'm like, I don't know if I'm looking too much into it because of Miller, or if it actually just is a joke that doesn't work. But, and I'll say, I think though Ezra Miller though during the emotional moments, especially with the mom, are so good. I did come close to crying a couple times. They were really, really well done. Okay. I was really impressed because his performance is a little all over the place. I think everybody's going to praise it though because when it's emotional and when it needs to be, he does really well. So on to Keaton and talking about like the No Way Home comparisons. I feel like, so I'm not the biggest Michael Keaton fan of Batman. Those movies in my eyes are fine. That's a very hot take. Okay. I think he's handled better than how, well, this is like debatable. I think Toby and Andrew do like better fan service things, more things that like for me personally, I just loved. I mean, cheering and crying moments for me for No Way Home, where Keaton, I was like, I feel like for the story you've decided to tell here, since you're not using Thomas Wayne, I feel like he works really well. Honestly, it doesn't feel as forced as I was worried it was going to. It just kind of feels pretty natural. The most forced thing is Supergirl with Sasha. Not that she does bad. She's just not in it enough to really gauge. It's more like they're really adapting. I guess this is like a minor spoiler if you just aren't aware. Flashpoint exists. It just feels like because Flashpoint has a Krypton, they were like, we're going to also have a Kryptonite or a Krypton, but not, be Superman. We want to be different, which is fine. And I think she does a great job. She's just not in it enough for me to really be like, you felt like you should be here. Because she's like all over the posters.
Yeah.
That's just like what blew my mind. I was like, you're not here for more than like, I won't spoil how long, but she's not there long enough for me to really do anything. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of their way of being like, hey, look, we have a they see the S on there and they say, hey, look what we have in our movie also, along with Michael Keaton. Oh, and don't forget Ben Affleck also, and 2 Flashes. It's like, I feel like they would kind of push Supergirl a little bit to get those butts in the seat. So that's not something that I considered happening, but hearing that now, I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. I can see that.
Ben Affleck does so good in this movie. It makes me so mad that I'm like, you're gone after this. And I'm like, it just hurts. It hurts my heart. Also, I did see an unfinished version of this movie. so I won't ever speak on the CGI because in the opening it was so bad. I was like, this all is unfinished, but it got better as it went on. I've also heard that I have a bunch of cut content. Like I didn't get the post-credit scene, and somebody said there's potentially like there's a moment where there's like some stuff that happens, and everybody's like, I think stuff was cut from this, and so we'll see if that's true or not. But
I was gonna ask if they ended up showing any post-credit scenes. I think I got spoiled on the post-credit scene. I accidentally saw a tweet.
So I'll tell you that nobody, to my understanding, nobody has seen the post-credit scene.
Oh, really?
No screening has had it.
Oh,
all of them show the director's name and then just cut to black. It was like a really awkward cut.
Okay.
If you're talking about a certain spoiler that Variety, for whatever reason, shared, that is like during more towards the big moment.
So
I was so mad. I was like, that was the only Variety posting that. I was like, that was the only moment our audience cheered, and I was like, I'm surprised you have the balls to just share this.
So yeah, I didn't read the Variety thing. You had texted me about it, Brendan, and I was like, I'm staying away. I'm good on that. Like the movie's gonna be here sooner than later. Like just give me a couple weeks and I'll be fine. What I saw was kind of which this is completely my fault. I don't even want to like admit this, but I was on Twitter and someone said, "Oh, minor spoilers for The Flash." So I was like, "Okay," and I can't freaking stop myself. They had it with the spoiler tag. It was like hidden, and I was like, open, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Damn it!" And I closed it, and I was like, "Dude, I really hope that isn't true." And this character and what they did, I was like, okay, this seems like something that could be like a post-credit scene, because there were other talks of certain characters in a post-credit scene, and I don't know if they're sticking with that. I don't even know if it was true. I saw it like a couple times on Twitter, and that was it, and like some articles. So whatever I saw, just for the sake of trying not to spoil for anyone listening, or even holding on to that hope that I didn't get spoiled, I won't say it, but that's interesting because I was gonna ask like if they did end up showing the post-credit scenes and stuff. So
I'll say that I think the reason there isn't one is because the movie ends in a weird way that makes me think they have something big. I think the like last minute of the movie feels like something huge because it cuts at a weird time, and I'm like, I think you have something that you do not want getting out prior to this movie releasing.
Dude.
Granted, though, I mean, could be wrong. Could just be that it's not finished or nothing's finalized, but it just felt like they want something there at the end, and it's just not ready, or they're not wanting people to post about it.
That's the vibe I've gotten from it too, because yeah, from my understanding as well, that everybody that I've heard talk about it has not seen any post-credit scenes at the end.
Yeah,
and so I guess that leads to my question, which I'm trying to figure out how you might be able to answer this without spoilers, in a sense. But in terms of the grander DC image or future after this movie, do you think that this plays a big part in that? I know that James Gunn has said some things about that, like when they unveiled the schedule or whatever.
If we're going off of what Gunn has said, then I'll kind of say, but like, I mean, if you haven't read Gunn's opinion on it, then like, I guess maybe skip over this part.
Yeah,
this definitely does set up like the greater DCEU, or the DCU, whatever they're going to go with. I don't think this is going to be like a required watching. To me, this kind of feels like a goodbye to the DC that was, while we begin fresh, to kind of be like, hey, we are clean slating. Like, this is just where we're moving. DC Flash is our turning point, and we will, whatever comes after is hopefully now in a post Flash world.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like that. I mean, Gunn has said all the same things, so if anybody's like, that's kind of, we're trying to do the best to stay on. Yeah. Even though I'll say this, the trailers probably show way too much. I'll just be honest there. The trailers show way too much. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was shocked how much I was able to be like, we haven't hit this yet or that, and I was like, oh, there it is. So it is a little odd.
I watched the first one, Charlie. Me and you were talking about. I watched that one, and I think I've purposely tried to stay away from everything since then, which is kind of hard because I'm trying to do the same thing with Oppenheimer, and because they dropped the 3-minute trailer, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna watch it. And then I sit down to watch Fast and Furious, and they play the 3-minute trailer for Oppenheimer, and I'm like, well, great. Now I have so much information that I didn't want.
I'm surprised Guardians is where I saw the 3-minute trailer because they like tied it to the IMAX release.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't get to I watched Guardians way too late, and so for Fast X, I didn't even see an IMAX.
10 out of 10, right? We're also going to talk about great.
Well, yeah, Fast 10 for 10 out of 10. I mean, yeah.
Oh.
No, thank you. Charlie, did you watch it?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did?
I mean, it's bad. Sorry, I won't derail us.
Oh, my God.
It's rough. Oh, yeah, you did, because we were talking about it.
Yeah.
So other than Ezra Miller and Ben Affleck, like, was there any other like surprising standouts, or was there any other things that you kind of had a problem with? Not only in terms of characters, but like in terms of the movie itself, and without spoilers, obviously.
So I'm gonna say this is like a surprise for me, and I thought I was maybe crazy, but my brother also kind of agreed. Michael Shannon really feels like he's phoning it in. He feels like he does not want to be there. Ooh, like it sounds like they like and it's not like Ben Affleck Justice League bad, but it is like there are some scenes where I'm like, this is really the take you decided to go with, and like you didn't want Shannon to like. It doesn't like ruin the enjoyment of the movie overall, but there's just a couple times I'm like, is this really what you guys decided was the best route with using Michael Shannon and doing all this with Zod? And so my other complaint would kind of be some of the comedy. Like I said, I don't know how much that's tied to Ezra Miller, but some of the Barry 1, Barry 2 stuff, there are points where I'm like, okay, this is a little annoying. And it's not it doesn't play as well as it should at some points, but a lot of that is because they use Barry 2, we'll call him, as like this is like an origin story for him, and so like it's like the origin story for Flash that we forgot, and so he's like the immature version, and then ours is like the more mature. He's fought Darkseid. He's been around for a while, and so I think Barry 2 at some points is a little too much, but.
Okay. How long is the movie again?
So mine was like 220, but I know that Big Screen Leaks posted it was like 223 or something on like the runtime.
Okay.
So
that gives about that 3 minutes that if they are going to do anything at the end.
That's what makes me think. I could be wrong on the time. It was like they like really were strict about our phones being off and everything. Wow. Like they were like, if we see your phone turn on before you walk out of this theater, they're like, we will blacklist you. And I was like, all right, cool. I guess like I'm not touching anything.
Did they confiscate y'all's phones and stuff?
Not this time, which really shocked me.
Yeah.
Especially this early, like Civil War. No, it wasn't Civil War. It was Winter Soldier and Ant-Man. They took away our phones, and I was like, this is almost a month early, so I'm surprised we were allowed to have them. I mean, they had 5 people though, like standing in the aisles, like watching us.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it was intense. It was like kind of at some points I was like, if somebody screws them up, they're just gonna be dead. That's it. Like Warner Brothers not playing around.
Well, I asked because when me and Maddie went to go see Shang-Chi, that kind of fell in our laps. I think even you had texted me about it, and you were like, "Hey, this is coming out tomorrow. Literally, they've never done it this early. If you want to go watch it." And so we went to go, and like we stood in this line. They had a whole bunch of people in suits just kind of standing there with their arms crossed, and we had to turn our phones off and put our name on a little sticky and put it in a box.
We did have to put our phone in the car for Shang-Chi. Disney's a lot more strict than anybody else. I've been to only a few advanced screenings. Disney is very, very, very anal about you not having anything on you when you go in. Civil War was actually what surprised me because we had our phones in there, but they also like watched all of us like a hawk. And so
I was because it was just like super professional. I think I had even like took a video, and I was like, oh no, the suits are here, like it's kind of getting real. And we had to leave our phone. But what was interesting about that is they showed the full post-credit scene and everything. Like they really didn't care about like holding anything back. Like, they showed Captain Marvel, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, and all of them, like nothing. And it was, I mean, it was cool. It made for a really cool experience. I didn't have to, not that I wasn't going to, but it's not like I was like, oh damn, this was unfinished. I feel like I need to go watch it again and get the full thing. And so I'm surprised. I'm really surprised they didn't take y'all's phones for a movie like The Flash.
Me too. That was what really shocked me. We were like preparing for it too, and then whenever it got to like 6:30 and they still hadn't taken anything away, I was like, I guess they're not, because we don't have enough time for everybody to get in here.
Wow.
That's actually what's kind of interesting to me as well. What Aiden just brought up, like how he saw Shang-Chi a month early, and yet everything was like relatively finished. I wonder, like, are they just working up to the last day with the Flash? Like, this is kind of wild. Like, you saw it a month early, and all the stuff is, or a lot of the CGI still isn't finished.
So I've heard two different things. I don't know which to take as. I mean, I think everybody's gonna throw speculation. I've heard this is the CinemaCon cut, and so they just decided they weren't going to include anything new from there, so they could just keep working on it and not have to do their cut. I have also heard that this is just the cut that is done, that was done like this week, basically, and they were like, we're just going to send it out so they can start viewing it. I like to believe it's part of the CinemaCon thing, because there's just way too much unfinished in points, and I'm like, I don't know how you do this in 3 weeks, but I guess we'll see. Some of it I'm worried just isn't. That's what stresses me out, because that's how I told my brother, if this is like the 3-week cut, I'm really curious to see what is not finished, because there's a lot of, in the first act, there's just a lot. There's like a big CGI scene that it just looks really bad. But
wow,
we'll see in a couple weeks. You'll know early on if this movie is not, if the CGI is rough. You'll know early on that that's just how it is.
okay, yeah, I saw a lot of people saying that like there's like a lot of good in the first couple of minutes. I don't know. I was watching someone on TikTok and they said like that a beginning sequence or like a beginning scene just like automatically hooked them and got them like set for the whole movie. Yeah, you would agree?
The first 10 minutes I was like, damn, but I am in. I was like, I am so in. And then hiccups here and there with just some of the pacing, but like that first 10 minutes I was like, this is what I want to see. This is like, I can't believe this movie is just so much fun right off the bat.
Wow. So now with I had kind of a hot take. I don't see it as much now. I said Flash would be probably one of the best, if not the best, comic book movie of the year. And just by the trailer, I was so invested and hooked on it. It looked amazing to me. Of course, Guardians comes out. Absolute slapper. We have Spider-Verse next week, and then we have Flash a couple weeks afterwards. I don't know how I feel on that statement, but in terms of like basically what we've gotten so far, what we're looking to get next week, because Spider-Verse reactions came out today and they are overwhelmingly positive.
I cannot believe people are saying it's better than the original.
Yeah, that's like some people are saying it's the best, like their favorite Spider-Man movie, it's their best Spider-Man movie. So now that you've got to see two of those,
I know. I was like, I don't want to look at these reactions, but I didn't. I was like, oh, next week.
It sends chills. But now that you have at least two of the three so far out of the way, and based on what we're hearing about Spider-Verse, what are your thoughts? Where do you fall into that conversation?
So I think Guardians is the better movie. I think this will fall as third, but Guardians is just such an unfair film, because it's like, what an emotional journey for Rocket, and like I just think the cast of that, it just works so well. I mean, I bawled my eyes out in the last 5-10 minutes of Guardians, where I just could not stop crying. Now my brother, on the other hand, did say that he liked Flash more than Guardians, so it's gonna really be to each their own. I think it's just depending on what you want out of the movies. I think Flash is definitely the fun movie, where like I could see myself rewatching this over and over, where Guardians was, for me, I was like, man, that made me sad. I don't want to watch that again.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know how well that take is going to age, especially after Guardians came out. I was like, dude, I love this movie a little bit too much to where I can't see myself putting Flash over it.
I would be shocked if the Marvels, Blue Beetle, or Aquaman are better than the Flash. So at least you're in the upper three.
Yeah. I totally forgot about all three of those.
I forgot Blue Beetle had a trailer.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot that.
I liked it. I liked the
I think there's a
trailer.
second trailer coming before Spider-Verse is what I thought I read.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I wouldn't be surprised attaching a character like Blue Beetle to a Spider-Man movie. I mean, you're kind of reaching your perfect art audience right there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking of probably about Spider-Verse, Guardians, Flash, and then the other three at
Yeah, I
this
mean, and
point
then
in
Ant
time.
Man, wherever you want to put it there on the
Oh
list,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my god.
depending how Aquaman is. Let's be careful. Aquaman could be worse. So
I completely forgot about Ant-Man too. Yeah. Well, it really doesn't even matter. It's like Guardians and Flash. It's given. It's a
yeah,
given. It's
I
not going to
mean,
be worse than Ant-Man for some reason. Okay,
Fast X on
interesting.
top anyway, bro.
Yeah, it's all fine. We got Fast X. Best movie of the year. Um, I'm trying to brainstorm some more of the questions I had. I was thinking about it over the weekend of some things I wanted answered about like the overall like just movie making of this film. Cause like I said, the trailer hooked me immediately. Like the big action set pieces they had, you know, the big like, you know, car just zooming everywhere and stuff like that. Like it looks fun. It looks like
yeah.
insane the scope of this movie and like these action sequences. Do you like you know, you got an unfinished version. Some of the stuff looked a bit choppy, but like taking that out of it, do those like action sequences live up to like what the trailer was trying to convey?
I think for sure the first action scene to me is just perfect. I would honestly say I hate to use that word perfect, but like
Yeah.
it's for I've wanted a good Flash movie for so long that like the opening is like everything I would have wanted from it. It works so well, and it opens well with like a lot of in the trailers have shown it, but like it's the opening with him and Ben Affleck kind of like
Hmm.
dealing with some stuff, and it's just a
Yeah.
cool set piece seeing them work together and just be a fun moment. Where that also upsets me because I'm like Ben Affleck does so good in this scene with Ezra, but I think all the action is good. I think the opening though is just better than everything else. That unfortunately, like it never hits that high again. But I do think the
Mm.
ending is like a cool action scene. It just doesn't work as well as that one does, just because like the Flash stuff is I think more interesting in the beginning than it is towards the end. The ending is still cool and still has a couple good moments, but I think the opening is just from start to finish. I genuinely enjoyed it. Where towards the end, I was like, okay, maybe we like speed through a little bit more of this action. I'll leave
Yeah.
this slow mo again.
Speed through.
Well, speaking of slow-mo, and I don't know if this was edited or if this was oh god damn, what's the word? Uh photoshopped. Uh Zack Snyder being like greatest DC movie ever, hashtag the Snyderverse is over. Was that real?
I think that's fake because
Okay.
I have seen so many people be like they're saving the Snyder celebrity post for like the day before the movie comes out. They're like, we got to get through the rest of these celebrities that agreed to, which is so funny because you can't have Miller doing press, so you're like, we got to
Oh
put Terry Crews,
yeah.
Stephen King out here to really promote this movie.
Dude, I didn't even consider that. Yeah, you can't have him do
And no, I mean
anything.
even if he was like, oh okay, I mean like everybody's just gonna ask the same 5 questions like, how
Yeah.
why'd you do this or that, and are you allowed back in Hawaii? You know.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was like, there's no way this is real, dude. Like, if it is, they are either paying him off or they got like the greatest movie of all time on their hands.
I
Because
wish Schneider would say something though, just because I feel like this is his goodbye. I mean, like
yeah,
I pray to God, I hope Ezra Miller doesn't come back and
yeah,
just let it all die, let it
yeah.
go. But
I guess one thing that I'm curious about is the how did the pacing feel for you?
That's what I was
Because
gonna
I feel
ask.
like
Yeah.
that's something that I feel like a lot of DC projects have struggled with. Even like some of the better ones. Like I had somewhat of a pacing issue with the Suicide Squad at certain points, and so not that any movie's perfect at doing that. I don't think, but how would you say it compares to maybe not the rest of the DCEU? Just because I mean, let's be honest, it's only up from there. But just on your own personal scale of action to storytelling, pacing, all that kind of thing.
I think the pacing in the first and third act is great. I think it's I understand you could cut some things down here and there, but I think it works as well as it's going to based off this movie. I think the second act struggles a bit. I don't know if that's because I'm just not the biggest like Keaton guy, and we spend that's where like we do a lot of the setup, and a lot of the Miller jokes don't really like I said, some of the humor doesn't work for me in that middle part. It's still good, don't get me wrong, it's just paced kind of weird, and I'm like, I wish we could move through it a little quicker. But I'm curious like what a general audience will feel, because there is a lot of like, I know Flashpoint very well, so for me it's like, okay, I'm ready to like get moving, where I feel like you do have a lot of like legwork you have to do for people who have no idea what's happening. So I think I think your mileage will vary on how you feel about the pacing.
Okay. It was also
it's
like
good. It's good.
Okay, that's good. Okay, yeah. That I mean, I like to hear that, but it's interesting to go back to what you said about the acting performances. The last person I would have suspected to have I guess bad in terms of what you said about phoning it in would have been Michael Shannon. Like of everybody on the cast list, he would have been the last person I suspected to have such a performance like that, other than maybe Michael Keaton. But actually, I could see Michael Keaton. Just want to get the bag on this one, and then just
yeah. Keaton feels like he's having fun. Like I'll give Keaton credit. Like when they let him just do whatever he wants, which happens quite a bit, you can see that he's just like happy to be back as Bruce Wayne. He's like, even though I don't love Keaton's Batman stuff, I was like, you look like you're having fun. It reminds me of like Andrew when he came back for Spider-Man. Like,
okay,
you can tell that he's just having a blast with some of these scenes. Shannon did surprise me as well. That was like the thing that just felt weird. All of his stuff just feels off, and so maybe it is just the script, maybe it's all that, but it just doesn't feel like anybody really pushed Shannon to like try at some points. Like sometimes it feels like he was given the script, which maybe he was like an hour before shooting. He read it really quick and then just went on to do it.
Okay, Charlie, are you feeling converted yet?
I mean, I'm a lot more open to, the possibility of this knocking me out of the park. But I mean, even with Brandon saying, especially that Guardians for him is still better. And Guardians was really, really good. Like, I actually didn't even know. I thought it was at the top of the year for you, Aiden, but I didn't know you still like John Wick 4 more. But,
yeah.
No, it topped John Wick 4 for me. Guardians.
Guardians above John Wick for me.
I loved John Wick so much. Like, I just loved my experience both times watching it. I don't know. Overall, I think like. I don't know. It's hard, dude. It's hard because I think John Wick I have at like a 95, and then I think I have like Guardians at like a 93. So it's like right there with each other. And like I said, it could change. Like I've even been thinking about raising my Guardian score because just still like almost a month removed from it. Not a month, like maybe 2-3 weeks.
Have you rewatched it yet?
No, and I haven't even rewatched it yet. Yeah, I was supposed to rewatch it, so. Me and my buddy were gonna go watch Sisu because he popped into my work and he was like, "Oh, when we're gonna go watch a movie?" Because I watched John Wick with them and I'll go and kind of use them as my rewatches. And so he was like, "When we're gonna watch a movie?" And I was like, "Oh, well, Sisu comes out at 9:30 in Austin. Let's just go over there." So while we're going, we're driving, and I find out that he took me a completely different direction. He thought we were going to a different movie theater, and so I was like, "Well, let me just see what's on." And I saw like Guardians was on. Evil Dead and The Covenant, and I was like, oh, well, let's just rewatch Guardians. And then I thought about it and I was like, man, I can always rewatch Guardians. It's going to be in theaters a little bit longer. Let me go ahead and watch The Covenant because I haven't watched that movie yet. Granted, now I wish that I would have just spent that time watching Guardians because Covenant wasn't that amazing to me. But no, I still haven't rewatched it, and it's still like every time I think about the movie, I'm like, I love this, dude. I love it a lot. So the score could still go up, but.
Okay.
I don't know, dude. John Wick.
Yeah, I'll say I have John Wick above Flash. I checked my like where I rank things.
Okay.
But John Wick's finale is just like I was like I can't put Flash above the finale of John Wick 4. Like that was just too good. But I would watch Flash over John Wick. I just think John Wick's like the better movie.
Yeah.
So.
I can see that. So okay, so then obviously you think the movie has a lot of rewatchability.
Oh yeah,
even
I think yeah.
even with like no, you're fine. I was just gonna say even with like where the state of the DC universe is right now and where Gunn is taking it, you still think it has that ability.
Oh yeah, I think it's just fun. Like that's like the
Yeah.
word. That's the phrase everybody's gonna throw around. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie that you have a good time with. Sure, there are like the big emotional beats, but overall, at the end of the day, you will still have a really good time with this movie. And I think that's what DC needs right now. Is they
Oh
need a
yeah.
movie that people want to rewatch, want to talk about, and this I think is that. I think it's that fun movie that they've needed. I wish the Suicide Squad could have been that, but I think Aiden's gone. Bye.
That's what I was gonna say. For oh my god. For me, I was gonna say I'll probably like it as much as like Creed 3 or like a little bit less than Creed 3. That's how much where I think it's gonna land for me. And right now, Creed 3 for me is I believe it's third or fourth. It's third for the year for me. I think it'll be maybe on the level of Creed 3, if not on the level of Creed 3, slightly below Creed 3 for me.
Yeah, I have it just slightly above Creed 3. I really liked Creed 3, but I just enjoyed this one. I'm also a big Rocky guy. Creed 3 ranks a little lower in my Rocky stuff, but
Okay.
but
Yeah,
I
sorry,
enjoyed this just a bit more.
I kind of crapped out there for a little bit. I accidentally hit my. I don't know, but if we're talking about like overall ring, I have Creed 3 also at 3. Yeah, based on everything I'm hearing, I might be just because like I'm high on everything I watch. Like, I'm always usually higher than a lot of people, and so I'm I'm probably gonna be around there too. I mean, I don't know. It's hard whenever you have movies like Creed 3, Guardians, and John Wick 4. It's like it's gonna be really hard to start making those other movies that are coming out soon like fall into that place,
Yeah.
especially by the sound of it. A movie like The Flash, I'd probably be around 3 or 4 also though, if we're going off of that.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
might even.
Spider-Verse has to take your number one, though. I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah. I feel like it's like, dude, based on what I just like, some of the bare things that I was reading, I didn't even go too deep into it because I kind of want to stay away. Like I'm holding myself back and trying to keep myself busy. Even just hearing all the stuff that I'm hearing and seeing the stuff I'm seeing, man, it's next week, so that's
I
know. Yeah, so I feel like those Spider-Verse, Guardians, and Flash will probably be for sure. I don't think I can see them falling out of the top 10, maybe 1 or 2 of them, but I don't know. It's going to take a lot.
Yeah, I feel like this year's kind of like a wild card on a lot of things towards the last half, so it'll be interesting to see what lands and what doesn't.
Oh yeah, how did you because I didn't ask you about this. Did you watch the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer?
I did.
Did you like it?
I did. I have spent way too much time watching lore videos on Five Nights at Freddy's. I thought it was really fun. I don't think it'll be good, but I am really excited for it. I think it could be. I think box office wise, that's going to be like a huge one that nobody is. The fan base is too big to like. I think it's going to eat it up.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun.
I never played the games, and so like this past week, I've been trying to catch myself up on the lore and stuff, and just seeing, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. It's insane, but just seeing like how much like attraction this game and stuff has to like people. Like I was watching some of Markiplier's old videos. I don't think there's. It's crazy because you just look up Five Nights at Freddy's and they recommend his playlist of his gameplays, and it's just.
What made
and that's what
because of him, like the series took off. Like they owe all of their success to Markiplier and Matt Pat. Like those two are the reason the Five Nights at Freddy's series is as big as it is.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, I don't think there was a single video in that playlist that had under like 50, 70 million views. It's actually insane. And so I think that could be a little sleeper. Again, I don't think it'd be like the best movie of the year, but if they do it right, which looks like, they have a lot of beats in there that they're hitting, I think that could be a pretty cool one too.
Yeah, I'm curious. The creator co-wrote the script, and I mean, they've gone through. I mean, this has been development since 2016.
Yeah,
there have been 2 movies that were like trash scripts. That like Nicolas Cage one that came out was one of the Five Nights at Freddy's movies that they were like, we're not going to do this. and so studio just like bought it up and did it. So I do think there's a lot of demand, and I'll be curious to see the quality of it. But
Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of comic book movies, yeah, it kind of looks like these three will be at the top. So I am very excited now, and I'm glad that we were able to sit down and kind of hash this out, because now I kind of know what to expect. I know what I'm going into, and what to kind of take away from the movie. And so I was already super excited. Now I feel like I'm going in with a more level head. So. And so, Charlie, I hope you're kind of the opposite. You're back. You're brought down or brought up here.
Yeah, to hear someone actually not just absolutely, I mean, actually, I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to say it like that. I was gonna say, because everybody else just seems to be sucking this movie off.
I wanted to say that at the beginning, but I was like, I don't know where we draw the line on me saying that.
Go ahead.
So it's nice to hear someone not do that, and someone who can actually talk about the film in an honest and candid, for I don't even know if I can use that word here, but in a candid way, as such, to say, like, Michael Shannon doesn't do a perfect job in this. It's not as good as John Wick, in his eyes. So I like that, with because I feel like literally everybody else I have seen is saying that this is fantastic, one of the best movies. Even James Gunn said it's his favorite movie. I don't know if someone asked him if it was what his favorite comic book movie of the year is, or favorite movie of the year is so far, but he said The Flash.
I think he said a movie of the year.
Yeah, and so James Gunn said The Flash, and so it's like that's crazy. That is incredibly high praise for. Granted, I know, like, we're only halfway through the year. There's lots of other movies to come out that could top it for these people that are saying that it's the top of the year for them, but I like this with much more of like a level-headed mindset to talk about this movie. It's like, because that's what I like. I don't want to like even looking at these Spider-Verse praises, as much as I love it, and like that's right up my alley, I don't want us to like act like it's this fantastic thing with no flaws. There has to be some drawback in there to discuss. Granted, they just probably can't discuss too in detail right now. It's just like initial reactions kind of thing. So I understand. But now, I guess I'm a bit more excited.
Makes you feel better, Charlie. I wanted this movie to be the worst thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. The whole time I was like, I want this movie to be dog shit, because I've heard too many people just talk about how this is the greatest film since The Dark Knight. I was like, I need this to be absolute dog shit. And then we walked out, I was like, fuck. I was like, I hate this.
Oh man, no, that's great, dude. I'm glad we were able to get in here, because like I said, I was like super. I fell in love with the trailer. I was still cautious, obviously, but like now to kind of, like we said, I was up here, Charlie was down here, and now I feel like we're both kind of getting at the same level. So like, I'm super excited for the movie still. Like, just hearing this stuff, even like with the flaws, I feel like I'm like even more excited now, and it sounds like there's a lot of promising things in here. I wonder how it's going to fare going up against, not going up against, but like you have Spider-Verse dropping June 1st, June 2nd, and then you have Flash coming out 2 weeks after. I wonder how that's going to kind of play into things a little bit, like, especially for people that have gotten to see the Flash early. Obviously, you're seeing it before Spider-Verse, and then Spider-Verse comes out, and you're kind of like, I need to reevaluate my thoughts on what a perfect comic book movie is and stuff like that. So that'll still be interesting, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. Charlie, are you in the same mindset now?
Yeah, I think the movie will be fun. I'm looking for like the more emotional aspect of it. I like I said, I want to connect to Barry and his mom a lot. I think based off of what Brandon said, that's probably going to work for me, and I really sincerely hope that's the case. I hope that I come out of this movie being wrong. I hope that Ben and I are incredibly wrong. I don't know if I want it to be the best of the year, but I also don't want to like say that and make it sound like I'm praying on its downfall. So like,
I was praying on its downfall.
I want to be open to it and to a certain extent, which is why I haven't like said the complete opposite. Like I think it's a flop in comparison to what everybody's saying, but no, yeah, I'm definitely more positive on it now, and I hope that it lives up to that positivity for me.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We kind of swayed Charlie's mind a little bit, so that'll be fun. Um, but I mean, this is nice to kind of get this down the hatch, and then wait a couple weeks. Got some movies coming out in the next couple of weeks, some stuff coming, and then we can be able to revisit Flash and revisit all of this. And me and Charlie will be seeing it for the first time, as will be a lot of other people as well. And so hopefully this is to kind of get other people in that mindset too, because like that propaganda going out there of this being one of the best things that these people are spreading is getting kind of crazy. And it's weird that I go on Twitter and see that Stephen King and Tom Cruise are saying this is one of the best movies ever. Like, okay. So this was fun. I was happy whenever Brandon told me that he was overall high on it and did like it a lot, but that he also had some flaws and some things to hash out, because I knew Charlie would appreciate that as well. So
yeah. Thanks for coming on, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
anything else
me.
we're leaving out? All right, awesome. And with that, we good to wrap up?
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. If this is your first time here, be sure to drop a like if you're watching on the YouTubes. Hit the subscribe button as well. Give us a little bit of the notification bell. Click right on there so you don't miss our weekly uploads. If you're over on a podcast listening platform of some kind, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be, drop us a rating. You can drop it. You can listen to an episode and give us a little high little rating. We're good for it. Yeah, thank you guys so much, seriously, for tuning in every time. Those of you who do, Mimish, we're looking at you. But we will be back next week
with hopefully Spider-Verse.
Yes, hopefully Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I'll be leaving Tuesday. So the biggest thing is getting my PC set up. I don't know how soon I'm gonna be able to, just because we have a lot of stuff to do and get out of the way, but I'm hoping ASAP, because I have a lot of stuff to tackle. Because I really do want to be back in here next week talking about Spider-Verse and how amazing 100%. It was. But it might be a day later, right, Charlie? Because you work on or you watch the movies on Friday.
I watch them on Thursday. Well, I'm gonna watch this one on Thursday. Normally, I watch every other movie, but comic book movies I always watch on Thursdays.
Okay, cool.
If you need a computer to use, Aiden, we can talk about.
Oh, there we go. I can just head on over to Brandon's house.
No, you'll be here with us, and
I got another movie partner. I'll say another in case Maddie's listening. I have another movie partner, another movie buddy. Awesome, Brandon. Long overdue, man. Thank you for coming on. This was an
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I will see you next week. Charlie, I'll see you next week in a different way. And all right, that's it. Charlie?
Yeah. Adios, guys. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you next week. Adios.
Peace.